Holy, 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 Alleluia. Holy Jesus, praise Jesus, Alleluia. Hello,
Oh, good morning.
good morning. How are you?
Thank you. Good. Well, what's what's the latest?
I'm good. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, it was quiet all day
That's
yesterday
good.
and half the day before, and I got a revelation last night. I don't know, I should just read the journals and then hit it when I hit it, or yeah.
I read part, but I wanted to save it as for us as we were, so you can get my raw raw emotions.
Yeah, because it was like happened last night and I haven't sent it to you. So it's it's a big part, I think. So I'll just start with the journals and go from there. So the 15th. Oh, Kirk, so I just did the checklist. Kirk was the one that got kicked at the lake. And I realized that there was more pieces in there, more parts. And so, um, these are the different names of the parts. Let me see. Ay, 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 ay. So, Kirk, where are you?
You're doing such good work on your videos, and I was listening to the most recent one. I re-listened to one of the most recent journal ones.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. So I had some parts, the Gianna Simone, the S names. It was the E names that came was as we're standing on shore, here comes Dad, and then I don't want to go out there. And then as we're out there and he says, give me a blowjob, and I go, what? I kind of went into shock. Um, and you know about this, so I tried grabbing him, or I was grabbing his hands, and then I thought, well, okay, maybe my hands on his penis will make him happy. And it didn't. I kicked him in the balls, and he called me a little bitch. And then Mom comes out, she jerks my leg, scoops me up, and I'm spitting up, and I try to run and hide. But I realized that there's another part that had to deal with the physical after effects, and that lasted for days, and that was Erin with her stomach problems. So as these three new parts plus leg jerk, because I forgot about that. I was underwater and they were fighting, and Mom pulled my leg away, and then my stomach. So those are who I'm referring to here. She had water and sand in her mouth, and Dad approached because we were playing. Eliana got water in her nose and mouth. Dad grabbed her wrist, dragged her into the water. Eva had her wrist as she was being dragged in the water, held there and told what to do. Eliza was under the water, so had issues with her eyes, her nose, mouth, and her leg as Mom was grabbing her. So Emery was now in the sand, and her nose and mouth felt awful from spitting up water. Her throat was raw from water. Her feet were hot on the sand. So that says I'm standing there staring at Dad. Aaron had stomach and GI tract issues from being kicked. And the MKU is, well, they're not really MK Ultra, but it's just where those descriptors happen to be. So she, obviously drowning. And then spiritual issues. Eliza wanted to die and felt like God would not like that. Her trigger word was being called bitch. There was music playing at the beach. So I'm starting to understand why I don't care for music very much.
Oh, seriously.
Music playing at the beach. She felt like she was in trouble because she didn't obey Dad, the rules. All of the parts were stuck on rules and obligations. All parts have issues with music because there was music at the beach and at home. And then these four had issues of trigger words and phrases. Just, the pretty much basic, shh, whenever mom's back was turned, or, Angie and Mary saying their nasty little comments and all that stuff. So, um, and then the next day,
Boy, Diana, your comment about music is so important, and that'll be very important for you to convey to
well,
survivors to be
just
mindful of what they
yeah, I mean,
listen
and
to.
just think about how many people, almost every person I know, or throughout my whole life, always has music on in the car. They've always got something going on in their house. It's just always constant noise. And I've never cared for that. Anyway, but I will mention it again.
So it can be easily triggered and not know it.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, so this was just a quick one. I was laying down to go to sleep. I just saw Prince Philip sitting in a high back chair, raising his finger to his lips to indicate the vow of silence. I think that was with Brianna's parts with that um the spirit cooking and the heads on the table thing, that experience. So I just moved all my files to a bigger hard drive, and this one seems to work a whole lot slower, and I'm being bothered by it right now. Okay, so this is, oh, there's a girl out there, a woman, I should say. She's probably about 30, but she does kind of like an investigative thing in terms of researching court documents and, cases and things, and addressing comments and rumors and stuff on the internet. It was about P. Diddy. And it was literally 4 episodes, 2 hours each, and the last one was 3 hours. I just finished it last night. So I was watching this documentary. There's a quote of P. Diddy saying this, and my jaw just dropped open, that he wouldn't give up his publishing rights until his bones were crushed to powder. Have
Wow.
you ever heard anyone say that before, ever?
Wow.
And my part just went, what? So I went into shock when I heard that. I had to rewind and listen to it again. That's what he said, bones crushed to powder. And you put it in the internet and it's all over the place. P. Diddy quoting this. It was years and years ago. He's talking about his one of his artists, and he wasn't going to give up the rights. And I've never heard anyone say that before. So Eli is that part, is telling me that the bones, once they were dried, were placed on a flat metal table. And this is when I was going to sleep. And a large metal crusher would be brought down upon them, and it would grind it back and forth. It was until it was turned into powder. Diddy knows what I know, what I have seen and been part of. It was corroboration. Why would, have you ever heard anybody say that?
Making sense.
So I'm thinking, wow, there's
In this.
corroboration.
Oh,
And then I remembered another part from watching this P. Diddy thing. They were talking that there's this one incident, one of his accusers is talking about how she was forced to be in a foursome. And I suddenly remembered when I was a teenager, I wasn't forced to be in a foursome, but I would. So I also remembered a time in Iowa with Shirley Bueller, the same girl that got me ostracized from the town. We went out with two guys and we were partying in a trailer. She was in one room with one guy and I was in one room with another guy having sex. At a certain point, the guys traded rooms. I remembered I didn't like it at all. Sherry thought it was just cool as heck. I didn't want to do that, but I did. I felt really crappy afterwards, very dirty. She was all elated by it. I thought it was disgusting. Oh, and then the next day, Chris and I had sex. And the week before, I had told him when we were in there, he has because we go in the shower, and he has this thing where he likes to take his time getting in there. And as I'm sitting in there, I have anxiety because I have to wait and I start getting angry and I've talked to him about it. So before this time, I said, Chris, I said, I recognize that you have PTSD. Said on my birthday, I asked you to get me some flowers. And I said, I appreciate that you drove around town for 2 hours full of anxiety trying to find a flower guy to get me flowers. And that was, of course, it was the one day there was no flower guys on the streets. And I said to him, I said, why didn't you just go into Stater Brothers and get a cheap little vase of flowers? And he said, well, because of my anxiety. And I went, oh, okay. So I thought the present itself was that 2 hours of him looking and looking. That's how I thought that was the present. Even though I didn't have anything, the effort was enough for me. And anyway, so I said, so I recognize that in you, and I'm not pressuring you. I said, but I need you to recognize that I have PTSD. And so when we're in the shower, I said, I don't want to be waiting. I said, because as I'm sitting in there waiting, I'm winding up. I'm getting wound up. I'm getting angry. I'm getting anxious. And then by the time you get in there, I'm annoyed and I take care of you. And I said, I'm sure that you can sense that I'm not fully present or the presence that is there is not loving. I said, so I need you to not make me wait. And so I said, are you ready? He's like, yeah. I said, when do you want me in there? I said, I don't know, 10 minutes. Because, I'm going to wash my hair and shave my legs and do stuff. And so I said, but I need one more thing from you. And I told him this last time and he blew up. I said, I need you to not talk. I said, it's one thing if you're going to moan with pleasure or you're going to say, oh, I really like that. I said, but for you to say to me, grab my balls, do this. I said, I don't give me any commands. I said, for me, it's a command, and you're telling your sex slave what to do. And I need you to just be there and accept what I'm willing to give you. I said, if you want to say, oh, that's great, fine. I said, but I don't want that talking, those commands. And that's why he blew up last time because I told him, everything's changing. Oh. And I'm like, well, yeah, things are going to change. So this time we went in the shower and he didn't say anything at all. He had some moans, but as I was doing, because I didn't have to wait and because he wasn't giving me commands, I'm pleasuring him and realizing my parts are all going, wow, this is cool. I can do what I want, when I want, how I want, and I can just give. I'm not being made or told or forced what to do. I get to just give. And as my parts are realizing that, I'm feeling my heart open. And I'm like, yeah, we can just give. And he can just receive. And it dawned on me all these years, I'm almost 60 years old, that that's what sex is supposed to be about, the giving of to each other and not the taking. And I thought about all these people that watch porn and they're trained to tell people what you want. And I understand when you're first lovers and you're learning and exploring each other, yeah, you ask each other what you want or what you don't want. But when you know somebody for 20, you know what they like. You don't need to be told. And so I was like, it was just really it was awesome. It was sex with love. Even though there wasn't a face to face and it wasn't whatever, it's about giving, purely about giving and sharing. No taking, no telling, just none of that. And the parts were just like awash with relief and happiness. And so we get out of the shower, and I'm like on this little high, Because Chris didn't even pleasure me, and I didn't even care. I was just happy to give to him. And so I go to make lunch, and well, not lunch. I was preparing a soup that was going to simmer all afternoon for dinner, and I needed to go to the store, and my car battery was dead. So I come in and get Chris's keys to the truck. I go to the store, come out, and I lost the key fob. And it's his truck, and I don't have the key. I can get in and out of the car with the key, which is no problem. Or no, the lock fob thing. And so the parts are all flipped out. Oh my God, he's gonna lose it. He's gonna this, he's gonna that. And I retrace my step 3 times. As I finally come home and I tell him, and he was just silent. He wasn't angry, but he was just quiet. And I said, "Why? I left my name and number. I told the manager and whatever." And so I go and I start making the soup. And sure enough, I get a call from the store. Someone turned me because Chris was just certain that it was a thief. And I said, well, I made sure nobody followed me home. I thought of that. I made sure of blah, blah, blah. He was just certain someone was going to come steal his truck. And it's not his new Jeep, but it's a 20-year-old truck. And I'm saying prayers, please, God, please, block and bind and, all this stuff. And so finally the store manager calls and I run over and get it. And we're both so I was just kind of bummed that I was on this high about the sex to go back into this fear mode about the truck. So it was kind of short-lived. So that's what this whole one sentence is. So,
Uh, Diana, the that is invaluable, and you will help so many couples, so many survivors, so many couples with what you just described.
and I was
Uh,
thinking about that too. I thought, oh my goodness, how many of us are there out there that,
it's the elephant in the middle of the room is the interpersonal relationship, the intimacy. So to be able to communicate as you did is just phenomenal, and then the change in Chris. So it's actually to your credit as a couple that you're
yeah,
being
I was
able
just
to,
thrilled that he respected my wishes,
yeah.
you know? And I
So
even
it's,
said to
it's
him, I even said to him, I go, and I do have another question. I said, how is it that you can go to Big Five and spend 45 minutes in there and you're perfectly comfortable and there's no issues, but you can't go to Stater Brothers for 5 minutes and get flowers? And he goes, well, because you're with me. And I was like, it never dawned on me that I'm always with him when we go there. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, I was
that's
like, you need to understand I have PTSD. I said, it's not a word I'm throwing around. Everybody's got PTSD. I said, I truly do. And I said, I need some rule. Like, you need me to go with you to Big Five. I need you to be quiet or not give me I said, I just don't want any commands. I said, just accept what I give to you and have that be enough. And he did, and it was just awesome. My parts were just like, oh, the heavens opened up. It's like, wow,
isn't that interesting that that's so beautifully well put. And I have, how many years do couples struggle with sexual intimacy until they can finally talk about it? And then it's like, why did we wait so long to talk about this?
well, and because I just didn't know, I just
Oh,
thought,
that's right.
oh, that's what he likes. He's telling me what he likes. So let me provide that for him. I wasn't his sex slave, but I was just, but in him doing that, it caused the internal parts of me that I was amnesiac of to hold back that piece of the heart, and it was finally merged. And I'm getting out of the shower going, wow, that's how it's about giving. It's not about taking or telling or controlling. It's about giving, purely giving, each one giving and responding, but not that. And I was just thinking how many people have been trained by pornography to behave a certain way. Tell them or give a command, even the women, dominatrix and the whole thing. It's like, it's about giving, not about taking. Anyway, so
That's beautiful. That's worth gold for people right there.
yeah.
That'll be an entire component or a chapter.
Yeah, if I ever get my brain wrapped around writing a book, I'm so preoccupied with this. And so I felt tired all day and I did not do any parts work, did not even turn on the computer. I did some work outside and cleaned the house. Also had Chris had me come watch a news story with him. In that news story, they brought up Gerald Ford and Donald Rumsfeld. When I saw the picture on screen, it was of both of them, I had a physical reaction. I felt like I was shaking aside. I was so shocked and taken off guard. I don't even remember what they were discussing. In that moment, I knew my memory was right. And then I said, also tell Joan about the dream where Angie appeared in my apartment and Mary was right next door. So I'm in this apartment. It's not anything I recognize, but suddenly, and Chris is there with me in Dixie. It's like where we're living, but in an apartment. And all of a sudden, Angie is just there and she's not talking and she's just looking at me. And she has this expectation of me to do something. And I'm like, why are you here? And she's not saying, she's just looking at me with this, like, I don't know, like, know it all kind of look. Anyway, so I walk out my apartment and go to the apartment next door, and there's my other sister, Mary, living there. And I bring Mary to the apartment. I said, look, she's here. And Mary's like me, we're like, what's she doing here? And then all of a sudden, there's this knock on the door, and it's a delivery, except it's a delivery of animals. I'm supposed to go outside to a trailer full of there's like 20 dogs in there in their little cages, and I'm supposed to pick one, and this is like my birthday gift or something from Angie. And I'm like, we have a dog already. We're happy with it. And there was this lovely, beautiful German Shepherd that Chris wanted. And Chris has always wanted, one of those Belgian Shepherds like the police use, but he's not going to do it until he retires because he wants to be with it nonstop to give it the proper training. He thinks I'm going to screw it up. Anyway,
That's
so
fun.
there's this beautiful shepherd walks up to me and is nosing me, and I'm petting him, and then I'm like thinking, Chris, here's the one, here's the one. And I woke up. I thought, well, that's just the most strangest dream ever. So I don't really understand what it means except for cages and dogs. Obviously, I've got those parts, but here's the dog we want, even though it's not time yet. I don't know. I didn't know what that meant. And then also my knee got sore again, different spots, about 20% discomfort compared to before. I also felt a little tingling in my thumb again today. And then Boris was that part you and I talked about where it was the stage shows where we had the knife, the decapitation, and the beheadings. Well, Boris was the one that did the disembowelment. So I just saw a man in black robe with long, wide sleeves, wide at the wrist area with a very high collar, as high as the top of his head. He was performing on stage. He had a makeup or a mask to look demonic, and he was leaning over, taking a bow. So I think that it was, I thought that I did the decapitation and the disembowelment, switched parts, but I didn't. I was either on stage to do the decapitation or to do the disemboweling and someone else decapitated. So that's what I understood there. And then Eli. Okay, so this was the bones thing because I had watched the P. Diddy. So Eli is telling me that the machine that crushed bones to powder was kind of like a device used to crush a car, except I realize now this is not right. Except it was smaller, about 3 feet by 4 feet, and the bottom was like a square metal tub about 3 feet deep. The bones would be placed in there, and then we would push the button for the crusher. It wasn't a crusher, it was a device to push them down, to come down. The crusher part had round devices on it with teeth, kind of like those tunnel digging machines. The round pieces would move around and just slowly break the bones into smaller and smaller pieces until they became powder. That was then dumped into boxes that were lined with plastic bags. They were sealed with a large twist tie, and the box was taped closed and sent on its way. The room was quite warm. I'm feeling warm right now. The room was kept warm so the bones would dry out.
Diana, you wonder how many products contain that.
I don't even want to go there, John. I said it was hot and dry in there. I would have powder all over my hair, eyelashes, skin, and clothing when we left there. We would all be patting our clothes and to get it off. And then I started reading about the timeline of Gerald Ford's presidency, and I was having a massive pain in my temple. I mean, John, it was just like, and some shooting pains through my neck. Mainly my right temple was throbbing. I just read about him taking a trip to Turkey. And so I was trying to go back and find that again. And that's when my head started hurting, throbbing, incredibly sharp pains. As I was looking for Turkey, I was thinking to myself, is it possible that I could have been flown there? When I started thinking that is when the pains started. Now my sinuses seem to be filling up and the pain has eased. So I think I found the bone crushing device. So I thought, let me put that in there and see what comes up. Bone crushing device, I think is what I put in there. And oh, wow, what did I put it under? Probably here. Boy, this new drive is slow. And it's bigger, so I don't understand that. And I found probably 6 or 8 that are similar, but I didn't find anything exactly. They call them a hammer mill. Um, and this is the internal workings of it. Let me make this bigger. It's where they would take antlers or salt or whatever, and they feed it into a device. And this is like those tunnel digging machines. You know what I mean? So I could see that, and I just saw it at different angles. And so once I saw this machine, I went, oh, yeah, my part's telling me, yeah, this is that. Not this particular one, but they use it to crush up antlers. These are antlers. I thought they were bones at first. And see how it's just like a square device? And what's the next one? This one was pretty close, except I didn't have this machine here. Maybe I was standing on the other side of it. I don't know. But they're about 3 to 4 feet. Well, this one's probably bigger. But see how, and so the thing we had would have a device where it would come down, it would push the bones down and it would get crushed. And then ours would come out the side. On this one, it comes out the front. And then here's another one. This is more similar, except I don't remember this stuff off to the side. And actually, I remember they had like the floor that we were standing on was like metal flooring and it was raised up. So we were standing at like this level so that we could reach the cover to push down the stuff. And it wasn't like a lot of force, but you just had to guide it down. So, and this is very clear. And we would stand on the other side, this side here, not because you'd have to lean over on this side. So I don't know if that metal floor we were standing on housed this stuff underneath of it. And then here's another one, which I kept putting in 1970s, bone mill or whatever, and I just couldn't find the right one or the same one. That last one I showed you was probably the closest. This one's pretty darn close too. And imagine that you've got metal flooring at like this level. So we'd be standing, because, what are we? 4 feet high. So, and everything's in there and the powder comes out the side of it. Oh, and here it is. Sean Diddy Combs said he wouldn't give up Biggie's publishing rights until his bones were crushed to powder. Why is anyone ever saying that? Ever? I've never heard anyone say that.
Makes sense unless
It just
this.
seemed like corroboration to me.
It does. Yeah, it does.
And is this the same one? Oh, here's a better picture of how it works. You feed the stuff in and it grinds and the powder comes out the bottom.
That makes sense.
And this is what I kept seeing, except I was thinking I was seeing it from like the bottom up. I don't know, but this is what I was seeing, like a tunnel grinding machine. And then finally I thought, well, let me see what companies make them. And when I saw this logo, I still freak out looking at it. I don't want to
Is that
look.
right?
So and it's a German company. So
Is that right, Diana, that you have a reaction to that logo?
yeah, and I don't understand why, but I can only think that it had to have been printed on that machine.
Yeah, because the image that you showed of that cog, it almost seems like you open a door, like if you want to clean a mechanism or something,
Oh
it
yeah.
slides in and out. So a door would open. Well, where would you stamp a logo into a machine?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I don't
that
like
door
looking
where it
at that
swings
logo.
open, you take the roller in or out because, if it needs to be fixed or sharpened or put a new one in.
Yeah, yeah. So these things exist and they existed at that time period, I guess is what I needed to prove to myself. And they grind up animal bones. They do the same process for animal bones to make bone meal for gardening. I buy bone meal.
Now we wonder what kind of bone meal.
Yes, I know. I know. And so then after that drifting, I'm also having pains in my right side under the lower rib. I decided to watch my TED talk regarding politicians. As I'm watching them, my vagina starts becoming itchy. And I'm getting an upset stomach, so I watched it again, and now I'm having GI pain. I realized that the time frame for Gerald Ford went to Europe was July 26th to August 4th. That's what's on the internet. I'm thinking that that was the time that mom was initiating divorce and having the separation. I also had the thought go through my mind that in the summers I spent 2 solid weeks going to school sisters. So dad might have still had access to me for 2 solid weeks at a time. And it's entirely possible that I went to Europe at the same time or even with Gerald Ford. So I started looking at, the schematics of Air Force One 1975, and the pain in my neck popped up again, the pain in my temple and the GI pain. My shuddered body wide. I think I was in the absolute back of the aircraft. No pictures of the back, just the middle and the front. I was with Susan and men in suits, and reporters were asking me how I liked the plane. Susan stayed very near me, so I'll show you. I didn't take any images. I figured they would just be here. 19.
That's right. I remember reading what you're now going through, and I think that's when I emailed you asking, because I'm wondering how common would it be for a child to be on Air Force One, and would that make part of the news story that a child was there?
Yeah, I don't know. See, this is all I think where I saw that image was like in the press area. She and I were milling around here. And the president's quarter executive entrance, medical facilities. Now, this is the most recent one. Chef and Flair's senior staff are here. offices and press quarters, armored glass, armor plating. This one doesn't show it, but I think I was back here. Where's another one?
Do you remember being, once you started to see this, you remember being on Air Force One?
I do. And I say that because I keep imagining telling anybody on the planet, and they're going to go, "Yeah, right."
You know,
Right. But I
well,
knew that I could talk to you about it because I didn't really get it until I gotta let the dog out, until that memory of me standing there with men in suits and reporters, and that's the
that's
body
right.
of the plane.
No, and listen,
And
you know, how else are they going to transport a child for or kids for this purpose? And so it's no more fantastic, as it were. It's no more hard to believe
I
than any
know,
of this,
I know.
right? So, as a matter of fact, this is easier to
Here's
process emotionally than the rest. So I have no problem assuming that they brought a kid in there. That's why I was thinking it'd be interesting to
Oh,
look up
presidential suite is in the front. Isn't that interesting? I would assume it would be like back here.
back.
But at some point, I remember being in a very small place with like, I don't know, luggage and stuff. And I also remember being in like the bathroom with Gerald Ford. So,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah. So they don't show you one from 1975. But, I'm assuming that they're all similar in nature. There was one where I saw the president's quarters in the rear, like here. And I think that's why I wound up back there, because you could abuse me here in his bedroom, and then, okay, you don't want to look at me anymore. I'll tuck you away back there. Maybe it was guest quarters, but I just remember it was not like, it was more of like storage area. And I always find it fascinating that I can find different stuff on my phone than I can on my computer. You know? So, yeah, I was there with Susan in that main area. And she was saying that, and I remember this a day later, that I was her protege. This is my little sister. That's the part's name, little sister. Um,
Do you remember seeing any other kids on that flight?
my part is saying yes, but I can't see it.
Yeah.
So maybe she had two of us there. My little sisters. Anyway, so Axel is the one that was in the tank. That when he was in the deprivation tank, he felt like his head was going to split wide open. That was that pain I was feeling. He was screaming and screaming and screaming so much pain. Deprivation tank was to wipe out all political memories. That's what he told me. So in my TED talk, I said that Susan Ford was a handler. She was my handler on the trip to Europe. That's why when I saw her head on a table and she turned and looked at me, she was looking at me because we had a relationship together. Remember, I said she wasn't like looking at me mean. She was just like communicating to me because we knew each other. She told me she was my big sister. That's why I associated her with Angie. Oh, and this. A part of the stuff that Eli Lilly did when he had me go to sleep at night, I had to sleep in a bed that it was, imagine a pegboard, except the pegs are about that big around and there's cushion. And they could stick a peg in the hole of the bed, and so that you cannot turn over. So you have it at your chest and at your back. And for weeks and weeks and weeks now, when I go to sleep, I always fall start on my right side. And I tend to I'll turn back and forth, but it's a very conscious effort. And when I do, I've had this thought go through my mind, well, let's think about something else. And I turn over. And I believe that he trained me on that bed to lay on one side. The idea is that if you're allowed to freely move back and forth, that it allows somehow your mind to flow more freely. But if you're forced in one position, it will stay there. And so I'll get up and like go to the bathroom, come in and lay on the other side. It's a very deliberate act. And so it has something to do with um, blocking memories. Like if you're on this side and you're having memories and you're not supposed to, well, get up and change your thinking and then go to the other side. And so I was trained in a bed like this. And to this day, I sleep with the pillow at my chest so that my shoulder doesn't fall and I'm uncomfortable. But I think it has more to do with being trained in this pegboard bed.
Well, it certainly is going to inhibit having a sound sleep. Probably the next closest thing people can relate to would be cats will sometimes, our cats, right? But climb up on the bed and they snuggle right next to you.
Yeah,
Well, that's fine for a few moments, but then
until
it
you
feels
start boiling, right?
right. You start to feel restricted, but you don't
Yes,
want to disturb the stupid cat. They're-
exactly. Because I've had cats for years. Yes. And
right.
it's
And
one
so
reason why I put Dixie on a space far enough away from me because I need the free move.
there you go. So I think it probably is, well, even worse because then you literally can't. So, and if you watch sleep studies or where they have a video of somebody, yeah, going through the course of their sleep,
Yeah,
they're
you're
always
moving.
moving. And so it probably inhibits going into a deeper REM sleep
Oh,
where it's
maybe so. Yeah, I was trained in a pegboard bed. And it wasn't, at first I thought, really, just a wooden peg? That would be uncomfortable. And they're like, no, it had a cushion. So it didn't stop your sleep, but it inhibited your movement. And I thought that was more, not, I believe it because these scientists do everything on the planet. But, it's mind blowing how far they'll go to just screw with people. So okay, new parts. So Magnolia was the new name chosen by Little Sister, the protege to Susan Ford. Magnolia's ears never adjusted to being on the plane, and she says her vagina in his mouth and nipples were harshly treated. That's weird wording. And then MKU wasn't actual MK Ultra, but just was exertion, exhaustion. There was distortion. So she says she was given a drug. Spiritual, the trigger words and symbols for were basically rules and obligations in terms of she was warned not to reveal anything to anybody, the part. And then new parts as a teenager, 17, 18. So I think all of this opened up memories of new parts as a teenager. And I had my PowerPoint didn't save on this machine, this hard drive, and I don't have any more plugs to put in the other one. So I'll have to show you on another day. But basically, remember the age 14 to 17 had nothing. Now it's got all sorts of stuff. So Alice was the girl that took acid. I told you that. And you've known about my sister's giving me cocaine and going to a concert, and Asti, who was ostracized. Well, all I was trying to line up. Charlie was the foursome, the new part, and I'm trying to line them up in order. And as I'm doing it on paper with pencil, I'm having to erase constantly. All these other parts popped up. We were in a car that was Sherry Bueller, my friend, supposedly my friend, with older people who were drinking and driving, and the police pulled us over. And that's when I wasn't drunk, but we went to the police station and I got that black mark on my record where the Air Force wouldn't let me join them. That was that incident. Then we did Sherry Bueller again, took me to another person's house and we did acid there. And we're walking around in the snow without coats on. And then this was trying to join the Air Force and not being able to. Then I remembered I've only gone to three concerts in my life. And the first one was Neil Young with my sisters, and I hated it. It was awful. I just didn't like the music. I didn't like the crowd. I just didn't like it. And then the next concert, I remembered it wasn't Tom Petty, it was Loverboy, because what I did was I put in, well, who did their concerts at what arenas in Iowa or in Omaha? Because that was an hour from where we lived. So I went to the Omaha Civic Center, and they had records going back to like the 1950s. And so I was able to pinpoint exactly the dates of these three concerts I went to. And I was kind of freaked out because they were all in a 4 month span of time. So Neil Young, and then Coke, and then my girl, same girl, Sherry Bussell, we went to another concert, Def Leppard, which I didn't care for. I liked their music, but I didn't like the concert environment. And after the concert was where we had the foursome in these boys' trailers, boys that she met at the concert, and they took us back to their trailer and we were smoking weed and they wanted to do this foursome. So then after that, we're back, and this is like 2 days before my birthday. This was Angie and Mary's birthday present to me. Let me open this up. As I have the dates in here, journal, parts. This is where I'm starting to put down dates and places. Open up now. So I was able to line them up chronologically from the records from this concert venue and other things. Mm, so I'm 18. So yeah. So no coats in the snow. That's when we're doing acid. I guess I should make this bigger. The Neil Young concert, Loverboy. Yeah, it was a Loverboy concert, not Tom Petty. I don't know why I thought it was Tom Petty. Actually, my part told me, see, because when we were at the Loverboy concert, they were promoting the Tom Petty concert. And then the Def Leppard concert, they had two of them, and I remembered that this was it had a certain name, like I don't know, I don't remember what it was now, but I was like, yes, this is the one. And it was 4 days before my birthday. Then the photographer, where we were back in Iowa, and this new photographer's in town, I seduced him. She was pissed off she didn't get him. And then she ostracizes me from the town. This, and I remember being rejected by the Air Force and accepted by the Army. But the rejection came in this area, but it all came to a head when I applied for join the Army in 83. So in a matter of like 4 or 5 months time, my whole life just spiraled to such a degree. I'm ostracized from the town. Anyway, I'm ostracized from the town. I decide to go cruising around town in my own car with my cousin. We leave my car parked at this one place. There was nobody else around. We go cruising around in his car, and we come back to mine, and my car is literally flipped on its side, John. It's like a group of people lifted it up, and it was on its side. And I remember we approached the car, and I was instantly, went from, okay, these people suck to I'm in danger. I'm in danger. That's what this is telling me. So remember, I'm writing all this down, trying to figure out the timelines. And all of a sudden, the part went, oh, that's right. My car was flipped on its side and I was freaked out. I thought someone was coming to get me. I thought my life was in danger. And that was another reason why I decided to join the army so quickly and get the hell out of there. And I remember as my cousin and I were standing there looking at it, walking around, and this group of guys maybe across the street hanging out in another parking lot drinking, came over and offered to push it back over. And I realized when I was doing this, I bet you it's the same group of guys that lifted it up, or however they did it. But it was like 8 or 10 guys. And and I remember talking to my cousin and my aunt and all that, and they're just different people in town that, didn't, they're like, this town has, its own network, its own controls. I forget what the wording was, but they're telling me, yeah, you don't fuck with these people. And I don't know if I fucked with him or not, but obviously I did with this girl. And I believe her father was some sort of a big shot. So,
Let me ask what's interesting where you have the photographer. Now,
yeah.
again, uh, that raises questions right there. So we got a photographer,
Well,
and
but technically, John, I was 18. I thought I was 17 or 16, but I had just turned 18.
so the question is, what's a photographer doing with teens? And
I know.
then look at the name. What comes to mind is Kodak.
I know. When she chose that name, she goes, "Yeah, Cody." It's like Kodak, the camera company. So I don't know if you had a Kodak camera or worked for Kodak. I don't know.
There's something about the photographer. Right, that what's the likelihood a photographer is going to all of a sudden show interest in these young girls? So
Well, honestly, I think Jack
yeah,
it was putting his finger in all these pies to
had
get
to have
to
been.
get out of
It
the
had to.
army, to get out of that town. And the only way I could think of to do it was to join the military. I think that was his way of getting me into the military. I know it is because I wouldn't have made those choices. I think I had to decide because my sisters went to work in the meat packing plant, and I was like, no way. I'm not walking around in blood. And I think I had resigned myself to work in the battery factory where my mom worked. But because all this happened in the matter of from July to November, at 4 months' time, or even actually more like from August to November, because I think I went and talked to the military in September, or maybe August or September when I turned 18. The Air Force rejected me. I think I had my birthday, the concerts, all that, and then I went to the recruiter and they were like, "Yeah, we can get you out of here in a month." And I was like,
Diana, you know what? Interestingly, I think that was arranged in this sense.
I
I
think it
think,
was
I
all
mean,
arranged.
if Jack was who Jack was, then uh, there's no way. So he directed you. It wasn't second for you. It was second choice. So they're the ones that stopped you from doing the Air Force,
I think you're right.
right? Because if they had wanted you in the Air Force, you'd be in the Air Force. So the question is,
Exactly. I think
right,
I wanted to go in the Air Force because I thought that it would be the easiest of the four branches.
since they had all these in, well, probably Air Forces. Well, I know, right? It's all in all branches. But if they've got,
Because this is where I was
uh,
still in school here. I was
but
still
if they've
in
got
high school.
if they have the dumbs in a lot of the army bases, and they wanted you over in Germany, um, they were going to tell not only arrange it for the cop, but tell the Air Force. Because if they wanted you in the Air Force, they would have gotten you in the Air Force at this level, right? So they are directing you to the Army because
Mm-hmm.
they want you ultimately over in Himmler's Castle and then
I
at
think so. And they could put
Fort
me in a
Bliss.
certain company with a certain first sergeant who was using
There you
me, and
go.
they had the whole thing set up and lined out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean all of this.
so
They
it
give
made
me
you
a
feel like
handler.
Yeah, it made you feel like you
handler.
ruined your chances for the Air Force, but you had no chance because they wanted you in the Army.
Well, and I think that probably Jack talked to or interacted with Sherry Bueller, my girlfriend,
Correct.
the handler, to get me in this car where I'd have the police record.
Right.
Yeah, have her go do acid, you know, all this stuff. When I think about it, it's all laid out
Right.
to send me to the
I
army.
wonder if with those concerts that you were taken backstage on any of them.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't remember the Neil Young concert at all. I just remember not liking it. Loverboy concert, same
But that's
thing.
interesting. If
I
you
was
don't
on
remember it,
cocaine.
but think about what you just said, the Neil Young concert, you don't remember it, but you didn't like it. So I wonder if
I've thought of that too. I don't know if it would have been anything backstage or
maybe you'll have to
because
play
my
some Neil.
sisters were with me. They would have had to have
Well,
either
yeah,
released me to them, but why
I,
would
I
they want to be with the artists themselves?
or
Maybe all
incentivize,
three of us were. I don't know.
right? So I wonder if you go back and or even now bring up some of Neil Young's the title of his songs, whether or not any would
Oh,
stand out.
right. Yeah, because they do have a list of the songs. And this Def Leppard concert, there's a couple of parts there. I need to flesh them out. But when we went there, the gates were closed and they're standing in line. And there's a crowd and everybody's close to you. And I didn't like it. And once the gates were opened, it was like a herd of animals just shoving you through this gate. And I didn't like that. And so what I did once I got in the gate into the hallway to go find your seat, I went and stood against the wall, literally like this, John, and watched the herd of animals go by. My friends were gone, the whole thing. I just stood there and waited for that hallway to empty out. Must have stood there 10 or 15 minutes or longer. And when I finally felt safe and comfortable, I was like, okay, here's my seat. Let me go find my seat. I went and found my seat. My friend, where were you? Where were you? I said I didn't want to get caught in that crowd. And so, as I'm telling you this now, I wonder if that's what happened during the other two, or maybe I did that because of the other two concerts. Maybe in that crowd of people, I was swept away somewhere else.
I remember staying after the concert.
Well, the Def Leppard one, when the concert was, and I remember sitting there, everybody standing up dancing, and I was just sitting there not enjoying. I liked the music. I remember singing along, but I didn't become a part of the crowd. Didn't do all that crap. I just thought, yeah, I'm liking the music. Okay, I'm tapping my foot. My friends looking at me like, what's wrong with you? Get up. And I was like, no. And so afterwards, as we're leaving, these two boys, which I'm thinking might have been more in their 20s, she glommed onto them or they glommed on. I don't know how they met each other. I think maybe we're sitting next to each other, but she just had to go party with them afterwards. And that's where this foursome took place. And I remember just thinking, this is dirty. This is not right. No, I'm not doing this. I'm sure my orgy parts from childhood were all triggered, feeling, sex slave crap and all that. And I was just not enthusiastic. And then we drove home, and that was that. And I also remembered too in this
Okay,
photographer thing.
here's a quick question for you. So it was in a trailer.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Where was the trailer?
I don't know, but it was close.
It could have been in the parking lot.
Yes, it was not far at all, John.
It was in the parking lot.
Oh my
But
God, I wonder if it was.
these are band members or roadies or something. Because I'm
And
thinking
it was
from
a
what
shitty little trailer too. It
that's
was
what
just shitty. It wasn't, it wasn't something, a star would have. It was,
maybe part of the band. Do you remember driving or walking to this trailer?
Right now I see myself walking to it.
I
All
wonder if
four
it's
of
one of
us.
those trailers out back.
Yeah, maybe it was yeah, a roadie or something. I don't know. But I just remember Sherry was just over the moon that she got to have sex with these guys. And I remember thinking, who the fuck are they anyway? They're nobody. They're maybe because prior to that I had Gerald Ford and fucking
Hey,
Nixon, you
yeah,
know?
that makes
I'm
because
like, I was disgusted. I didn't like it at all, and I wanted it to be over with. And there was music in there and all that. So that was all of this. But yeah, you're right. I'm wondering if that's why I pulled myself out of the crowd and let them pass by so I wouldn't be swept away into something else that maybe happened here and here. And right now I'm hearing my sister and Angie and Mary saying, "Where the hell have you been?" And saying, "What are you talking about?" So that's interesting. Never crossed my mind till you brought it up, John. But yeah, I'm thinking, said I've never gone to another concert again, ever. As a little girl, mom took us to an Elvis concert, and I remember our seats were by me, Angie, Mary, mom. Dad didn't go. Our seats were by the amplifiers, and that music hurt my ears, and I hated concerts. I never wanted to go to another one, but I did go to these because of pressure. These two from Angie and Mary pressured me into going there. This one was a birthday present, and this one was just to be my first. Oh, you got to go to a concert. It's great. So I was like, okay, I'll try this experience. And by this time, I was not into it, but it was a birthday present and they had bought a ticket and I was obligated. And here was about Sherry pressuring me. And I thought, well, okay, I like Def Leppard, so maybe that'll be the difference. But
Sherry was the handler.
mhm,
That
Sherry
raises
Cooler.
that raises questions then. Right, what happened after the concert?
Yeah. And so that led us to here when this photographer guy, she wanted him. But I was pissed off at her about what happened here. And so when the photographer came to the picture, I thought, fuck you. I'm going to seduce him. I'm going to take him away from you because I'm mad at you. And so that's what was going on here. And because I won out and was able to screw this guy, that she got pissed off and ostracized me from the town. But that was probably part of the Jack setup. For me, it was revenge, but for her, it was probably just all part of the setup, and she just got a bug up her butt because I won. And then they're threatening me, and I get the hell out of town. So
For a
there's a
photographer,
lot going on in
for a
here.
photographer to appear and for you to interact with a photographer,
I know he
eh,
was like new in town. I'm like, who are you photographer for? He was like
see
from some
that's
big
that
town, like Omaha or something. He was like a big shot photographer.
yeah, he was working for them.
I never even thought of that, but yeah. But he was playing me and Sherry off of each other, and Sherry really wanted him, or maybe she was just pretending. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to get back at you for this Def Leppard bullshit. And so that was, I think, Friday or Saturday. I don't even remember. So I know we're burning time here. We gotta get to the new one. And that
So
was just mapping it all out. I should put the concerts in here now. And then, okay, so I'm doing their health checklists. All of these parts smoke because I started smoking at 16. Alice here, oh, and these guys are snackers. I've been eating more potato chips lately. Crunchy, angry. Killing the one in the car. could smell alcohol in the car and didn't like it, and her knee was jammed up against the seat and it hurt. There was literally like four of us in the back seat and three in the front seat. We were just crushed in this car, cruising around town and they're drinking. Alice also didn't like the smell of the alcohol. Her face and throat were cold from winter. This was the one walking around the acid trip. Cadence had problems with hearing music because it was so loud, and her skin from all the people around, she was hot and sweaty. That was I think, who's Cadence? That was Neil Young. Oh, she was hot and sweaty. Oh my goodness.
How do you get
I
hot and sweaty?
kept wondering, how do you get hot and sweaty from
Yeah,
standing in a crowd?
yeah,
That's from sex.
yeah.
Oh my
Why
God.
you didn't? That's why you didn't like the concert.
Yeah, and Tia was the cocaine Angie and Mary. Maybe she got more. Her nose from cocaine and her GI tract bothered her. So this is the Loverboy concert here. This is the Neil Young concert here. Charlie was vagina and mouth. That was Charlie, I'm sorry, I've forgotten.
Brought up.
Charlie was the foursome, the next concert.
Have you brought up a picture of Neil Young for yourself to look at his
Yeah,
face?
I don't like him at all. I don't, yeah, I got creepy vibes when I saw the stuff. Cody is the vagina. That was the photographer. Ophelia, the one ostracized. Carson and Coda have no physical problems. Just two parts. Alice was distortion in the camera, so that's acid. Because remember, they took pictures of us on acid, and I didn't like that. And then Tia was the one that got cocaine, and she couldn't concentrate. So Tia was at this Loverboy concert. So I think that that's yeah, there was stuff there. Trafficking. I think maybe my sisters trafficked me.
Oh,
And Sherry, my
oh,
friend.
that's they were given tickets then. No wonder they wanted you to go.
Oh, well, anyway, so, oh my God, there's just always more. Killing and Alice about rules and obligations. Let me do this because I tend to forget because they're so new. Who's who? Okay, so Killen was the car getting stopped by the
Know the
cops in the car.
photographer? I'm sorry, Diana, did your sisters know the photographer?
I don't think so.
If he was a photographer for those bands, then he would have
Um,
access to free tickets.
maybe. Well, yeah, I don't know. And I also get the vibe that my boss was involved in getting the acid for us. I remember we were talking about it no, at the party, and one of the girls I worked with, was one of the people there. Sherry was there too. Was talking about, well, Dave got this first. And I was saying, there's no way. He's such a straight-laced guy. And I saying, no, he got this acid for us. And I refuse to believe it. And I'm remembering this the other, it's been floating through my head for a couple of days, and I'm just now verbalizing it. So there's more parts going on here, obviously, with these three concerts. So I need to highlight these because these, I believe, have trafficking going on by my sisters and then
If your boss, as
Derek.
an adult, if your boss
He
gives
was probably in
acid,
his late 30s, early 40s.
okay, then something's going on there. That's some trafficking stuff
He
there as
was my
well.
handler. I put that in here,
Yeah, yeah.
boss handler, all the way through because I started working at 14 and left there at I like right around here. And here's the acid, cocaine, and anyway, yeah. My boss was a part of it. Yeah. Um I forget, or Charlie was, yeah, the foursome is a trigger word music. Cody is music. Ophelia is trigger word. Ophelia has issues with trigger words. Karen, that's not right. Kylan, that's right. Kylan. And Cody, this is my dictation errors. Kylan are symbols. Symbols were used. The car on its side in the Air Force symbol. Oh, yeah, because I was being threatened.
Yeah.
So that's what that was about. So yeah, I would have never thought of the backstage stuff. I just remember thinking, well, I don't remember any of the concerts at all. I remember the loud music and the crowds were out of control and all that, but not much else. And then where's next? Was that the one I just did? Yes. Come on now. All right, I'll just put this over the top of it. So this is last night. So all day yesterday, I was really excited. I wanted to get into some parts work and do a couple other graphs and charts that I thought of. And but I just wasn't motivated. I was just like, ugh. So I did a Masonic video for Melissa's channel, my channel too. And then I laid down. It was like 8:30 and I'm falling asleep watching YouTube. That was the end of the P. Diddy thing. So I thought, well, let me see if there's any more clues that come up. Oh, and by the way, P. Diddy had tunnels under his house that connected to the Playboy Mansion. It's just rumors and speculation, but they showed pictures of excavations of the Playboy Mansion in like I don't know, 80s or 90s, and people were asking, well, what was going on here? And they said, oh, it probably has to do with the tunnels. And so P. Diddy and the Playboy Mansion were there, like in the same rich neighborhood, but it's rumored that they have tunnels between them. So that was another takeaway I took from it. So Chris wakes me up and says, hello. And I said, yeah, I guess I should probably just go to bed, huh? And I thought I would go to bed and drop off, but I didn't. I did my prayers, and then I'm doing a parts puddle, and I'm looking around Lake City, and it's quiet, like it had been for a day and a half. And I'm looking around going, well, what's going on? And and all of a sudden I see this part standing in the middle of Lake City, and everybody's giving this part a huge berth. It says, I see this massive, huge, almost like a monster, and it's full of rage. And I said, well, to you, big person, we will work on Ted tomorrow. You're welcome to be here, but you're not welcome to terrorize or hurt anyone. He's standing in the middle of Lake City. He's like the Incredible Hulk, that big, and he's got his fists in the air. He's screaming and screaming and screaming, more like a growly scream. We'll put growling, screaming. Anyway, my knee has been hurting for the past 2 or 3 days, and today I have bruises all around it. I took a bath, thinking, well, maybe that will help with some Epsom salts, and it did.
This has just appeared, Diana.
Yeah, and I noticed I'm like, oh my God, there's like 4 bruises around the top of it. Let me see if they're still there. Yeah, here, I don't know if you can see that. Here, here, it hurts right here, and another bruise here. So it's like 4 points of bruising, which I'm just now realizing here, here, and it's right under the kneecap.
Oh gosh.
This is
I wonder if they put like a claw clamp and started pulling your,
wait,
yeah.
just wait.
Oh, I can't stand this. Go on. Oh,
Yeah, and
I'm getting vicarious trauma through. I'm gonna have to go do.
I know. I said I've been tired most of the day and fell asleep in my chair watching YouTube by 8:30. Just as I'm dictating this, the
Oh,
pain in my knee is turning on. I mean, it was like going, and I was like, oh my God. And I was laying on my side with one knee on the other, and I had to move the one on top off of the one that was hurting. Said everyone is giving him a wide berth, but I'm telling him that he can be here and he can scream and shout as much as long as he wants to. He's just not allowed to hurt anybody or himself. His name is Monster. That's all I kept hearing in my head, Monster. He's such a monster. Now he's pounding on the ground and on tables and chairs and walls and smashing everything. I told him it doesn't matter because it will repair itself. He can smash up anything he wants, just not the other parts. He is screaming and screaming and screaming. He says he wants to. Oh, here, I forgot to do this. He asked me while I was editing he wants his font different. Kill everyone and destroy everything. I said, I understand that. You can be as angry as you want. You're just not allowed to hurt anyone else. He's tearing up trees, smashing buildings into the sand. He's a giant, 8 or 9 feet tall. He's just like the Incredible Hulk. My knee is just flaring with pain, and now I'm having some pain in my neck and the back of my head. He says my knee has been put in a vice.
There,
And I'm saying it's really flaring up a lot right now, and I'm lying down. He says, I hate everything. I hate every last thing on this planet. I just want to destroy every last thing. My knee is flashing again. Said, I am in John C. Lilly's scientific room. I'm strapped to a chair and my knee is in a vice. He's reading off some papers while I'm being tortured. I'm screaming at him and his workers that I'm going to kill all of them, murder them, rip their tongues out, smash their heads. Lily is telling me, good, good. Now there's a hand or some device that's squeezing my neck from behind. I'm screaming and screaming more. I hate them all. I'm going to kill them all. I'm going to kill them in the worst possible way. I'm going to kill them over and over and over. I'm glad to tell these people I'm going to murder them, but they just smile and their eyes gleam and they say, yes, good, good. This infuriates me even more. I want to kill them. I'm going to kill them. They must be dead. They must be wiped off the face of the earth in the worst possible way with raging, burning fire. Then all of a sudden, Pearl, my part that manipulated my mom to get a divorce, Pearl says, she said, I'm a split off monster. Pearl was furious and enraged with mom that she wouldn't wouldn't do anything and oh wait, maybe I should leave that. Oops. Enraged that she wanted to do anything and everything to make her suffer, make mom suffer. As I was thinking that, my entire right leg shuddered. It shook my whole body. It's doing it now as I speak, plus the back of my head, this is me, is throbbing mildly. Pearl is furious with mom. Monster is furious with the world. So these two are playing, not playing off each other, but he's waking up Pearl. Monster, rip people apart, limb from limb, and then take those limbs and smash the rest of them and stomp on them. My knee is throbbing and my whole leg is jerking. I mean, it was like this, John. I have a lot of adrenaline right now. My neck and head are throbbing. My knee is calming down. Monster is growling and roaring and screaming at the sky, growling and roaring and screaming at everyone and everything. He is so loud and powerful. Lake City is vibrating. All the parts are very far away and in their rooms watching. I'm standing about 20 feet away from Monster. I told him it's okay. Roar and roar and roar and scream. My arms in the real world were vibrating.
oh,
My right leg is having jerking. My whole body is heating up. I can hear myself screaming, get it off me, get it off me. I have a vice on my neck and from the back, a vice on my knee. The chair itself has the vices connected to it. I cannot pull away. I'm trapped in a vice. I'm screaming that I don't want to live anymore. I want to die. I want to die. Please just kill me. I start crying in the real world. I don't want to live. Please kill me. Please kill me. They nod. They look at me like I'm an insect, no feelings at all. I'm fighting in the chair, struggling to get out. I'm rocking back and forth, screaming, growling, and I cannot get out. Let me out, kill me, kill me. So Pearl Pop says, this is, Mama, how can you not see? Angie and Mary, how can you not see? How could you not see? Manny is Monster's new name. I want to kill all of you. I just want to smash Dad with my feet, smash him to death. When I pass out, they wake me up with something in front of my nose. It shocks me awake. I jerk awake so I can roar more. Kill me. I am roaring. Kill me. My knee pain is ebbing and flowing. My tears are ebbing and flowing. Now my right foot is jerking. It was like this. I was like, wow. Said, I'm saying, Monster, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Roar and roar. And he starts screaming, take it off me, take it off me. So I walk up to him and open the vise on his neck and his knee. He is red-faced and furious and limping. He can't seem to get the pain out of his neck, and he's holding his neck. Everyone is relaxing and coming out of their rooms now. They are still giving him a wide berth. Eden is the one that was with the mobster being raped by the mobster grandchildren. Eden is walking to him and they are looking at each other. She starts screaming to heaven too. And Barry, who was knight at Himmler's castle, he comes and the three of them are just screaming. They wanted to show Monster, we're mad too. They all, and then all the parts said, yes, they all start screaming to heaven. They're screaming for God to punish all the bad people. Monster says, yes, let's kill them all, kill them all. We are screaming and screaming to God. Then Denise, who was the first responder in the restaurant when my friend got the oil on her, walks up to him and asks if she can put ice on his knee. She asks him to sit down, and he does. She put a cool bag of ice on his knee, a bag of ice on his neck. He is allowing them all to come see him, touch him without speaking, and then slowly to the next person. So they're just slowly coming by, just like, and then walking on. They are silently telling him they love him, telling him he is welcome without saying a word. Caroline just gave
What
him
are
a,
you what are you feeling right now?
it's Monster just can't believe that people can accept him. These people, he was trained to kill and murder if they talked. He's overwhelmed that someone
If the
can love
parts
him.
if the parts talked, he was trying to kill them?
Yeah. I learned that on my I'll show you my TED Talk next.
Okay, okay. That's wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now he is Caroline just gave him a kiss on the cheek.
Oh,
He was just overwhelmed that anyone could love him.
yeah.
Said, I kneel in front of him and simply hold his hand and look in his eyes. I said, you are okay now. You never have to go back there again. He does not speak. He has a suspicious look on his face, also a confused look on his face. No one speaks. They just slowly, one by one, walk by and gently touch him. I'm sitting next to him holding his hand. No one is speaking, just touching him gently and walking on. It was like they all needed to let him know, we feel you. You're okay. We accept you. I said, they all understand is what I tell him. He just looks at them from the corner of his eyes. Denise shows him a cool towel. She approaches him, mimicking wiping her face, and presents it to him. She approaches more and then gently wipes his face. He cries again. I hold him. No words were spoken. I gently and slowly stroke his back. Now, this is something I used to do with Chris when Chris was raging with his withdrawal from Paxil. It calmed him down when I would just rub his back. And so that's what I was doing with Monster or Manny. He cries more.
Interesting. That's interesting that you intuitively knew how to handle Chris when he
I
was.
know, right? I said, "You are welcome here, monster. We love you." He nods. He looks at me and says, "I can roar whenever I want and I can smash whatever I want." I said, "Look, everything you smashed has repaired itself. Yes, as long as it's here in Lake City and it's not another part, the things will repair themselves." And he nodded. Caroline just brought him a glass of water. Denise is cooling him with a towel. She hands it to him and he wipes his face. Everyone has gone back to their normal activities. He and I just sit there and I hold his hand. We look out at the lake and the mountains, and the wind is blowing through the trees. I tell him that you can look through my eyes whenever you want to and see the world as it is now. You can see me as we are now. He nods. He looks up and sees Jesus walking around the lake talking to people. He gets up, walks straight to him, and starts pounding on his chest, screaming, "Why? Why?" Just roaring. Jesus lets him pound and just stands there with compassion. Monster is stomping his feet and walks around Jesus, pounding on him all over. "Why? Why? Why?" Jesus looks at him and says, "So that you can be here now with me, with us." Monster is confused. Donna is the one who did the satanic baptisms, so she now does the baptisms in Lake City. Donna looks at Jesus and he nods. Donna takes Monster's hand and she walks him to his tent. He does not want a room. She leaves. Barry brings him a food, a plate. That's Knight, the one who was roaring with him. Barry makes a campfire and they sit looking into it. This is like Chris. He asks Barry, "How is everyone able to just go around like nothing is wrong?" Barry says that he will show him Ted tomorrow. He's eating his dinner. He is tired. He goes into his tent. His knee and head still hurt. And I was thinking, well, what do I do now? And then it dawned on me, duh. I said, I'm going to watch one or two TED Talks with him as we sit in the tent. So Monster watched 4 TED Talks. It's just about midnight now. The parts are doing the TED Talk came came and sat with him and explained, "Hey, that's me. That's what I'm doing." So he's pretty excited to get out there and get to work. He
There we go.
giggled quite a bit too. Now, when I offered him to watch a TED Talk, I said, "Well, let's just watch one." He's like, "What the hell's that guy?" I said, "Let's just watch one." He watched the one, and it was the one with Susan Ford, the one I'd just done. And he starts giggling. And I got done and I said, "Well, okay, I guess we'll go to bed now. Because can we watch another?" It's like, "Of course."
Ah,
Well, 4 each time, another, another. And
really?
I said, "Well, it's midnight now. You think you want to try to go to sleep?" And he's like, the first 2, he giggled quite a bit. He would
Yeah,
say giggling and giggling.
yeah.
If it wasn't him, I don't know who it was, but somebody loves to giggle when they watch. So, Monster, we will work tomorrow on giving you a new life, but for now, we're going to go to bed. Good night. I laid down and it was out like a light.
Wow.
I know. So I'll show you the TED.
But
And it was really interesting because he presented in Lake City, not with a memory flashing through my head. He just was standing there in the middle, wanting to, kill everybody. And I'm like, you can be as angry as you want and destroy what you want, just no parts and not yourself. So he was good with that.
you're gonna
Um,
let me, sorry, my coffee is working. Let me
yeah,
run to
go, dude. I
so
gotta.
so I can be fully emotionally present for this.
Sure, yeah, of course.
I'm gonna enjoy this.
Uber dog. Come here, my bubby. Come here. No, all right. Come here, be on camera. I'll show the people your picture. No, okay. My doggy's not interested in being on camera ever. She doesn't even really care for me taking her picture. Which is how I used to be. I never liked my picture taken. I always thought look like a ghost or something. But now that my parts are alive and working co-conscious with me, I don't do selfies or things like that, but we're comfortable doing this stuff. So that's good. That's good, right, Dix? My little baby. My little bubby.
Diana, are you okay going for an extra half hour? Because I think
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm always
let's do
happy to
that.
take extra
And
time. Are you?
I am now. Yeah, no, no. I think it's let's plan on doing that. We need
Well,
additional
do you
time.
remember as I was sitting here looking at my burning cigarette and thinking about those concerts, I had a memory. Yes, there was backstage rape, I guess. I was going to say sex, but rape. And saying, I remember smoking while I was being raped from behind. Yeah, as I just wanted to. It's like everybody was so like, "Fuck you gonna fuck me? I'm gonna smoke a cigarette."
And you wonder what was in the cigarettes.
Oh, right, huh? But I mean, oh, that's right, because I was thinking I would have my own cigarettes with me, but obviously, if I'm being raped, my purse isn't there. It was probably handed to me. I didn't even think of that. Anyway, so yeah, I've got more parts.
What's great, Diana, what's great to know is
But that
think
flashed
about
through my head while you were in the bathroom.
think about how hard they worked to make sure, as they were saying, that you're going to forget. Well, guess what? So
I
you have outwitted the best of MK Ultra.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
Plus that John Lilly and others could do. Guess what?
I know. Here it is. Well,
That's
and
pretty
you'll
good.
see. You'll see. Manny starts hollering this when
Okay,
he's.
let's go for
Oh,
it.
come on now. Let me open it again. Yikey, shnikes. I had it all ready to go. Where are you? WarLynDi, publish, Manny. Can you hear it?
Out on the streets, that's where we'll meet.
So this is like an
Good
hour
morning,
before
everybody.
session.
It is November 19th. Had a very interesting night last night. My little doggy. You wanna talk to the people? No. Anyway, it was funny because yesterday I sat down to do work, part stuff, and nothing was coming. No inspiration. And I thought, well, okay, work on something else. And I was tired the last half of the day, and I thought, well, I guess something's coming, because I usually get tired or drowsy before something reveals. What are you crying about, Dixie? Anyhow, so I fell asleep in my chair. I had a little YouTube thing on, and my husband's like, he woke me up. He says, "Why don't you go to bed?" So I did. It was 8:45. Anyway, as I lay down in bed, of course, my brain's churning and churning. Well, it wasn't churning and churning. What happened was, after I say my prayers, I'll lay down and I'll have what I call the parts puddle, where I'll, kind of visualize the city that they live in. I call it Lake City. And just kind of walk around and talk to parts and see what's going on, give them hugs or whatever. Sometimes someone wants to be baptized, so we'll do that. And, I, went into Lake City and everything was quiet, just like it had been all day. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I wonder what's happening there. And I looked around to see this big, huge monster, like an Incredible Hulk type figure, 8, 9 feet tall, just massive creature. And I was
I
like,
think it's
okay,
funny. I
well,
was
that's a
shaking it.
part. And so I said, welcome. You're welcome to be here, but, you're not allowed to hurt anybody. Everybody was giving him a really wide berth, being kind of quiet and withdrawn. And I thought, well, and so I was just kind of hanging out and watching. All of a sudden, he just started shaking his fist at the sky and screaming and roaring, just like you would see the Incredible Hulk. Just so I had this whole conversation with him, and after about an hour, yes, an hour, finally he calmed down, and all the parts came out and came by and touched him without words, just walked by and, gave him a little tap on the shoulder and went away on their business. It's a way of saying, you're welcome here. We're not going to intrude on your space, but you're welcome. Anyway, he wasn't ready to go to bed, and I said, well, it was, I think, 11 o'clock by then. I said, well, let's watch some TED videos because we can't go out and work on TED right now. And he was grumbling. He didn't know what that meant. And so I put on a TED video thinking it would be just one. Well, he was watching and enjoying it, started giggling. And he, can we do another? I was like, of course. We wound up watching 4 TEDs. I got to bed about midnight. So that helped him a lot. And so here we are. Monster is his name. Although he has selected a new name already. He wants me to call him Manny. So here's Manny and Monster gonna beat the heck out of Ted. So, excuse me. Ah! 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 He was tortured by John C. Lilly. Put in a chair, and his knee was placed in a vise. This chair was designed to pinch the neck and joints. And so they picked my right knee, the very same knee I've been talking to you all about. It started flaring up again and hurting, and I thought, okay, body memory, something's coming, something's coming. But 2 or 3 days, not terrible, but a monster showed me that his neck was in a vise that was crunching at the back of his neck and skull, and that very same right knee. And so, anyhow, yeah, John C. Lilly smashed the hell out of him and his crew, his scientific crew. Think you're so fucking smart.
I had to speed up the time a little bit.
People, nasty, horrible. I'm gonna kill all of you. All of you. Kill you all. You deserve to die. He's got some massive rage. And it was funny, while we were watching the end of the night, he wanted to go stay in a tent, not one of the cabins. And so Barry, my warrior knight part, sat with him in front of a campfire, in front of a tent. And he had a little dinner. And we watched the TED videos. And for the particular TED video that I watched, that part would come and sit with them at the fire and watch the TED Talk. And they would tell him, yeah, this helps, this helps. Here he is. They deserve to die! Not me! You die! You die! I'll kill you all! device! Always the same knee! My neck and head! How dare you! How dare you hurt me!
Need a little more room.
Oh, man. I mean, if I'm exhausted just doing this, I can't even imagine what he went through sitting in that chair. Any of them being tortured and screaming, and so they are strong! Strong will kill you! How dare you hurt me! How dare you hurt me! Never again! Never, never, never! Holy cow.
You tap into that's beautiful, Diana. You're so in touch with it. This is such deep rage. This is beautiful.
Yeah. Let your parts holler. They need it. They get to say all the things they couldn't say. Except on this particular incident. These scientists let me holler and yell and scream at them. And Monster Manny first was begging them to kill him. And when they wouldn't, he started just raging that he was going to kill all of them. He's going to win! He's going to beat you! He's going to win! I win! I win! I will kill all of you! You will die! I survive! I survive! Which I just realized in this moment doing that was the part that was what the part was programmed to do. To have so much rage, so much anger. It was programmed to survive. It was programmed to remember the torture. Programmed to hate everybody and everything. And so if I remembered, or another part remembered, or another part went for help, it was Manny's job to stop them, to kill them, to do whatever he had to do to win. So thank you, Manny, for telling me that. Whew, he's an intense one.
Right now.
I win! I win! Smash your fucking head! Fuck you! I win! I win! I stand here today! I win! Use!
Oh, those are beautiful. That's great. It's great.
How dare you!
It's like I want some hand action.
Goodness. It's wiping me out. So I imagine I might be out here 2 or 3 times today. Because he is filled with rage. Programmed into him. Tortured into him. And the only stipulation I gave him last night, I let him rage and rage and rage in Lake City. He could destroy whatever he wanted, wherever he wanted. The only stipulation I had, he could not hurt another part or hurt himself. So he just stood there raging at God. this big Hulk of a man raging. That probably went on for 30, 45 minutes in my mind. Anyhow, I think I'll let y'all go. I need to catch my breath, and I've got a session in about an hour, so. Oh, God bless you all. I wish for you all to get your rage out on your bed, on a TED, on a boxing bag, whatever you can think of. I pray. Father, please help every person on the planet oppressed, in pain, tortured, raped, abused, hurt, in war zones, cold, hungry, tired, in cages. All of them, everyone, everyone, everyone crying and in pain. Please go help them survive, help them to grow. As they grow, help them to remember. As they remember, help them to heal. As they heal, help them to remember you were there and you helped them survive. As they remember that, they understand that you were their warrior, are their warrior. And as they understand that, become your warrior, just as you did for me. Thank you, Father. And I pray all of you find courage, healing, and the strength to come do this and release your rage. Yes, more parts will surface, but you're only going to heal from it. So I love you all. Take care. Bye.
That was earlier, huh?
Yeah, now granted, the front and the end where I'm talking, I left the speed to 7, but it was a minute over. So I did take that section where I was hitting and speed the time up so it would fit in that 15-minute window that YouTube gives me. Otherwise, it would have had to have been 2 parts, and I think it would have lost. So if you see me going super fast, that's not really real life. But Manny, I was like, yeah, yeah, that's me, Speed. I'm glad you sped it up because that's me. I was like, okay. It's the first time I watched it with that increased speed. So yeah, I had to peel a minute off there and I didn't want to cut anything out. So I thought, well, let me just adjust the speed. So, but that's him. He can go that fast. He can do that. He's telling me that. So,
It's going to be very, very healing.
yeah.
As I've mentioned now multiple times, and you're helping just like Manny the night before, kind of priming the pump for him giving himself permission, right? Seeing what's ahead. It really is interesting and heartening to see those survivors that aren't able to pick up a bat yet. It's you're helping them bridge that gap to know it's okay, to know
I'm
that
glad. Lord of Lords, King of Kings, Alleluia. Glory, glory, great majesty. Alleluia.